Welcome to my channel. I'm talking about Bridgerton today. Someone recommended this show to me and I'm so glad that I watched it because I wasn't sure at first. I remember seeing it come on Netflix and I'm like, what is this show? I loved it and I cannot wait for season 2. You know, it was just a beautiful romance. It's a book, so I'm definitely going to read the book now, as I always do. You know, if I really like a show and it's a book, I have to read it. So yeah, it's a beautiful romance set in like the early 1800s, which I thought was really cool because I was expecting more late 1800s, early 1900s. It was set in the Regency era, not the Victorian era. I know my eras, kind of. It was really beautiful. The cinematography, the costumes, oh my gosh, and the soundtrack. The soundtrack was unreal. Like, every episode I'm like, I could hear. It was the first one I noticed was, who's the band? There's a band who, I can't remember right now, but yeah, I'm going to get all their songs. I remember first hearing Ariana Grande. I remember hearing Thank You Next, and I was like singing along to the tune. I could hear it, and my husband's like, oh yeah, it is that song. Like, what the heck? And then we Shazammed it, and then every episode we Shazam the songs that we hear, because we almost like work out what it is, but then sometimes we're quite like, hey, what is that song? But anyway, that was so cool. Like, I loved the soundtrack. That was a real highlight of the show. It was so cool to put those modern songs in there, but have them as like instrumental or whatever you call it. I think that was a really good idea, and it really worked for the show. It set the tone, and it just suited the show being modern, but also being, you know, set in the Regency era. This review is also a spoiler review, so, you know, if you want to watch it and you don't want spoilers, you probably don't want to keep watching. So now I really want to read the books because I want to find out what happens, and I can't wait for each season to come. How good are the actors? Like, the stuff they had to do in this show is like, it's full on. It's really full on. And you kind of see why it was full on. Like, I think you know what I'm talking about if you've watched it. I think it makes sense why it was a bit full on because of how, you know, the Duke, you know, how he doesn't want to have kids, or he can't have kids. You kind of see with the sex scenes how they kind of tell that story. But yeah, the Duke, everyone is raving about how attractive he is. He's pretty good looking. I think the girl who plays Daphne is gorgeous as well. Like, it was well casted. Not every character was likable. I was going to say every character was likable. No way. But like, there were a few characters who I really liked, but I just feel like it was well cast. All the brothers looked like so alike. I did think that Eloise did not look like Daphne's younger sister. I feel like she looked older. That's just my opinion. I loved how as it went along, you sort of see the Duke's character, well, all of the characters, but the Duke, let's talk about him. His character, like, developed throughout the whole show. You see him, why he's like that, why he's sort of like closed off. You know, he's sweet and charming, but there's something about him that's like a bit, not dark, but like a mystery. And you sort of see why. And I thought it was really sad. Like, I just wanted to kick the TV when I saw the Duke's father, the way he was treating him as a child. It was just so not cool, and I just was getting so frustrated because I'm like, how the hell can someone talk to their own son like that? Like, that's messed up. But we sort of see more of that later, how it affects him as a man now. So it's really sad because that happens in real life, you know, how people have rough upbringings, or father figures or mother figures who are just absent, or who, you know, treat them really poorly, and then it affects them later in their marriage or them as an adult. You know, it affected him and Daphne's relationship big time. He really was like, I'm not going to have a kid. I've made an oath. Like, and that to him was more important than the oath of marriage. And that's just insane because that man, his dad, was not even on this earth anymore. So how can you just keep this promise to a guy who he's dead now, you know, and you're in love with Daphne, or you say you're in love, and you're just going to still keep that promise that you made to your father that you're never going to give birth to an heir? Like, I just thought that was a bit dramatic, and it just shows how his dad really impacted him and affected him as an adult too. I really thought with that whole storyline, as it came full circle, I really thought that was cool how Daphne found the letters. I did not know how that was going to happen, how she was going to find out about why, like his dad, why he was like that, and why the Duke couldn't have kids. I just thought it was really cool she found the letters. Her heart softened too, because she was sort of angry at him, but then it's like, oh, like, he's a victim, you know? So in general with Bridgerton, I thought it was so crazy, the society, the way it was like back then, like London, you know, high class society, like the most important thing for a woman is to get married, and, you know, once you're 16 or you come of age, whatever age it was, you're out in society and you can go out and you need to be assigned to someone and get married. And it's just crazy. Like, I'm so glad we don't live in a day and age like that now, but it was so cool to be lost in that world because it's so different to our world now. I thought it sucked how, like, there was just so many rules, and there was so many rules for the women particularly, not just the guys. Like, I felt like it was just more for the women, of course. Women in this day and age seem to be considered worthless if they can't find a guy. Like, if they're not assigned to get married, you're kind of like looked down upon and you're just undesirable. But if you've got all these guys trying to marry you, you're desirable. Like how the Duke said that with Daphne, how they were pretending to be together when all these men wanted to marry her and she didn't want to marry them. It's crazy how you're desirable if someone wants you. I also really liked Penelope. That ending, like, I knew there was a twist coming, but yeah, that was really cool, and it made sense that she was Lady Whistledown. You know, at first I'm like, who the F cares about who Lady Whistledown is? Like, why is it so important? It kind of reminded me of Gossip Girl, how everyone's trying to figure out who she is. It made sense because she just didn't really care about it. When Eloise kept talking about it, she's just like, oh my gosh, who cares? Like, there are other things going on. You know, she kept brushing it off. I like, though, at the end that no one knows that she is. So it's going to continue. We know, but, you know, Eloise doesn't know and stuff. It makes sense that Penelope is because she knew about Marina being pregnant and stuff. I really liked Eloise as well. I felt sad for her because I just feel like she just didn't fit in society and, like, really does not want to get married and be this pretty girl and wear those gowns and be all, like, you know, on show. Like, she's different. She wants something else out of life, and I really want to see her character develop more. I feel like Anthony grew on me, the elder brother. At first he annoyed me because I'm like, just stop being so bossy and controlling. Like, you know, you can't control your sister just because you're a guy, even though in that day and age he could. And I found that frustrating, I guess, because the father wasn't around, so maybe, I'm guessing, that's why he was so in control and everything. He was like the man of the house. I really thought his story, it broke my heart a bit, how he was in love with Sienna. That, yeah, towards the end, that really made me sad because he sort of changed and went like, I'm going to stop hiding now. Like, I want you, even though you're a prostitute. You know, I can't be with you. Society says I can't. You know, I'm just gonna do it. In the end, she turned him down because she's like, and I love that monologue she said at the end when she's like, you know, this man here who I'm with, like, I'm gonna choose him because I don't have to change for him. He doesn't ask me to change. You're asking me to change. He didn't physically say it, but technically, like, if she's gonna be with him, she has to change. And she used to wear something different, and she used to look like this and act like this. And yeah, I just thought that scene was actually really powerful and really sad. And I don't know what he's going to do now because he was clearly in love with her. So I'm curious to see what happens next season, as I think it's going to be about him more, but I'm not sure. His character grew. From the start, he was so annoying, forcing Daphne to marry some crazy guy who, like, physically was abusing her, trying to force himself on her. And then at the end, he goes to this character who's grown so much and goes after what he wants and stop worrying about what everyone thinks. And then to see it sort of backfire on him, I just thought that was a bit sad. Let's talk about Daphne. Like, I feel like she grew massively. At the start, she's just this nice little girl who, like, doesn't really know much about the world and everything. And then you see her growing and sort of understanding and, like, knowing what she wants. You know, like, she loved the Duke. And it annoyed me how at the start, you know, she didn't really say it and admit it. And then when they got married, she just sort of settled. And okay, I get that. She loved him so much. But I loved how her finding out, like, more about sex and about marriage. Like, it's true. She went to her mum saying, how the heck, like, why didn't you tell me more about marriage? Why didn't you teach me? Why didn't you prepare me? Because it's so true. Like, she knew nothing and she could just get taken advantage of. And she was, in a way. I didn't really see it like that. Like, I didn't really see that the Duke was taking advantage. I didn't understand, like, personally, as someone who's married and I'm married to my best friend, like, we tell each other everything. I don't understand how, I don't know, it's a different society back then, but, like, how they could not communicate with each other. Like, they get married and they're like, and it's all just like, oh, sex and whatever, and they're in love and they're on their honeymoon and that's great. But there was no communication about, okay, why can't we have kids? Like, you just can't have kids, okay. But why? Like, he didn't explain anything. And, like, he would clearly avoid making her pregnant. She started to become curious. And I thought that was really interesting, actually, how that played out and how she learnt that way. And she was like, okay, something's not right here. And just the fact that I forgot that she didn't even know. Like, she didn't really know what was going on. We as the audience saw it and was like, oh, he can have kids. He's just choosing not to. Yeah, it would frustrate me a lot how they just wouldn't communicate. Because I'm like, how can she not ask him? But why, you know? And like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. I just thought, like, why couldn't they just communicate more? I know that he was a victim, as I said, but like, he could have just really told her the truth from the start. But hey, you know what? Like, it's a TV show. But I just feel like, yeah, she grew a lot. Like, towards the end, she was like, she knew what she wanted. That frustrated me a little bit too, because it broke my heart. I'm like, they love each other. Like, the tension between them and like the chemistry was just, the actors, like, seriously, it was so, like, so realistic. They just had this chemistry, like, whenever they'd look at each other, even when they'd be fighting, it was like, they're so in love. They just can't resist each other. Like, it was a really beautiful romance, and they did such a good job, the actors. But yeah, I was frustrated because I'm like, they're having this ball at the end to celebrate them, but they know that they're going to break up. She like tricked him and tried to get pregnant, and if she's not pregnant, they're going to break up. But if she is, they'll just like continue the marriage. He'll support her. They're not going to really be together. And I just thought, what the hell? You guys love each other. I'm so confused right now. Like, why can't you just be together and just, I don't know. But yeah, I loved how at the end she sort of said to him, like, you are so worthy of being loved. Like, I love you so much. Like, I don't want to not be with you. And then that he decided to just fully open up to her and just go, you know what? Let's have a baby. It was just beautiful. I feel like it was so well done. There was so many layers to it. I feel like the first episode was like, oh, yeah, cool. And then it just got better and better and better. And it opened up. The characters grew and there was just layers just unraveling, and you just wanted to watch more. I feel like as it got more towards the last few episodes, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? I really liked that at the end. He went on his journey, the Duke, where he overcame his battles with his father and basically let him go and just like moved on with his life and became a father. And also she grew and learned more about marriage and being a woman and making decisions and standing up for herself too. You know what I noticed too, which was really interesting, because you don't really see this in TV shows or in stories. Her mother was so supportive of her and wanted her to be with someone she loved. Didn't care about status. Her mother actually wanted her to be with someone who was good, who she loved. So she was fighting for her to like be with the Duke, like sort of saying like, you should be with him, you know, I see the way you look at each other. I thought that was really cool. Like, I feel like the mum is a really good character, which, as I said, is really rare to find. I feel like all the mums in these sort of stories are like very bossy, like Lady Featherington. They're more like her, like controlling and like, no, you gotta be with this person. And I feel like she sort of changed towards the end too. But yeah, back to like the Featherington family, Penelope and everything, and I talked about her, like I liked her, but the mother and like the father, that was really sad how he died in the end. Actually, it was just so depressing because it's just all about money, and he put them in debt, like put them in a bad situation because of what he was doing, and then in the end he got murdered for it. But I'm worried about the family that he gave the money to, like the boxer, the Duke's friend. I just hope that in the next season he doesn't get murdered or something for taking that money as well. So I hope there's not more to that. I hope that sort of stays there. That was really depressing too for all the sisters and them and the mum. I also thought the Queen was really interesting because I thought she was cold and not very nice, because when she's like, oh, is he dead, like her husband, and you realise he's actually got dementia, she doesn't even know who she is and what a hard life she lived, you sort of realise, oh wow, like she's got layers too, and she's not actually a cold person for saying, is he dead? It's just like, wow, like what a woman to go through that and be a queen and just have all those duties you have. That opened my eyes up to the Queen as well. I just feel like as it went on towards the end, like everyone was just, every character had like opened up completely, pretty much. Even Marina, like I didn't really overly like her. I thought what she was doing was wrong too. But then she, in her eyes, it's like I was doing what I thought was right for like my child. I'm glad that she, in the end, like went to go marry the brother of, was it George that she was in love with? That was really depressing how he died. But in the end, at least she's going to be with someone. I know it's not George, but maybe in the end she can find love with that guy. I feel like a lot of them did have like good endings, except obviously Anthony and like a few of them. But my favorite episode was definitely the last one. Like just those powerful monologues and scenes they had, they were really powerful, particularly Sienna's, and also at the ball in the rain with the Duke and Duchess. Like They're so sweet. But I can't wait to see next season. Apparently it's coming out really soon too. So someone said it was coming out in March, the person who recommended it to me, but it's not coming out in March. Like, I looked it up and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's coming out so quick. That's crazy because this only came out in December. So yeah, maybe it's March next year. I don't know, but I hope that it comes out sooner rather than later. I feel like there was just so much to talk about with Bridgerton. Like, it was just such a great show. Definitely, like, even my husband liked it. And it's not just like a girly show or girly romance. It was a really good story and really good emotional and dramatic story of people developing, and I just loved how it had like those layers, like with the Duke particularly, like seeing his history with his father and how it affected him and how he overcame that. So yeah, like let me know what you guys thought of the show. Like, did you like the show? What were your favorite bits and your favorite characters? I'm really keen to read more of the books and see how the show goes and if the show will continue and go through all the books. There's quite a few books as well. And please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this and more reviews and just talk about just anything to do with TV and movies and books and more. So yeah, thank you so much for watching.